Hello, beautiful Libra. You've always been drawn toward balance, meaning, and the quiet beauty hidden inside life's turning points. This is more than an ordinary horoscope video because the final days of June carry a message your heart may have been preparing to hear for quite some time. As June 27th and 28th unfold, something that once felt uncertain begins to come into clearer focus. Take a slow breath and sit with that feeling, because what is approaching is less about sudden luck and more about a deeper sense of alignment finding its way back to you. If you've arrived here now, it may be because a part of you already senses that something is shifting beneath the surface. This is not about coincidence, and it is not simply another passing moment on the calendar. As this month begins to close, the sky reflects a powerful process of emotional realignment that invites you to reconnect with yourself. Rather than waiting for a sign, you may discover that the changes already unfolding around you are the very confirmation you've been seeking. Life has been preparing you for this chapter in ways that may only now begin to make sense. The delays, the unexpected turns, and the frustrations that tested your patience were not meaningless interruptions. They helped reposition you toward something that fits who you are becoming. What felt like resistance was often protection, guiding you toward a path that could support your growth more fully. Deep down, you've likely felt that there was more to the story than what appeared on the surface. There has been a quiet truth moving through your dreams, your reflections, and the moments when your intuition spoke the loudest. Now that inner whisper feels stronger, carrying the weight of understanding instead of uncertainty. So let me ask you something, Libra. Are you willing to receive what your own spirit has been trying to show you? This video is not simply about prediction. It is an invitation to recognize a deeper pattern unfolding in your life. Dreams you once placed aside may begin returning with new meaning, not as distant wishes, but as possibilities that deserve your attention again. Around this period, a conversation, a message, or even someone from your past could reappear, carrying clarity, support, or insight that helps connect missing pieces. Before we continue, I want to thank you for being here and for every way you help keep this community growing. Your presence adds to a space where people gather to reflect, heal, and reconnect with their own truth. If this message already feels familiar in some way, like a song your heart remembers before your mind does, then comment 99 below. Let it be your way of saying that you are ready to release what no longer belongs in your story and welcome the clarity waiting ahead. Stay with me through this message, Libra, because what unfolds next may help illuminate something important. Have you noticed how certain moments arrive when pieces that once seemed unrelated suddenly fit together? Sometimes a shift begins quietly, beneath logic and beneath explanation, as the invisible structure of your life starts rearranging itself. That is the energy surrounding these final days of June. For you, this movement is reflected in the sky through meaningful astrological patterns. The Sun and Jupiter moving through Cancer emphasize emotional growth, healing, and a stronger connection to what truly nourishes you. This influence does not simply bring opportunity from the outside, it encourages a deeper understanding of what matters most within you and what deserves space in the next chapter. At the same time, Libra, your natural desire for harmony is receiving support from energies that encourage honesty and self-recognition. Communication, insight, and meaningful connections become important themes, helping you see situations from a wider perspective. What once felt confusing may begin to reveal its purpose. The path forward becomes less about forcing outcomes and more about recognizing what already feels aligned. There is another layer to this story as well. While some energies encourage growth and expansion, others ask for transformation on a more personal level. They bring attention to the parts of yourself that have remained quiet, the dreams you softened, the truth you hesitated to speak, and the light you sometimes dimmed to keep others comfortable. These influences gently place a question before you, Libra. Are you ready to reclaim the parts of yourself you once set aside just to make it through? Libra, you are known for grace, balance, and the ability to bring harmony into the spaces you touch. Yet beneath that gentle presence lives a quiet strength that has carried you through more than most people realize. The energy surrounding these final days of June is not simply encouraging growth. It is asking you to fully recognize what you already know deep within yourself. This is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about stepping into a truth whose timing finally feels right. When something meaningful unfolds at the right moment, it has a way of gathering together everything that came before it. As June 27 and 28 unfold, the lessons from old struggles, the gifts you kept hidden, and the hopes you carried quietly within yourself begin to connect in a new way. The feeling is less like a sudden breakthrough and more like a realization settling into place. It carries a simple message: you are ready for what comes next. I often think that growth rarely arrives through dramatic moments alone. More often, it appears through perfect timing, meaningful encounters, and insights that reach us exactly when we can finally understand them. The difference between an ordinary moment and a life-changing one is often your willingness to recognize it. Readiness is what transforms a passing opportunity into something powerful. Maybe you have already felt signs of this shift. A memory may have resurfaced unexpectedly, a thought may have lingered longer than usual, or an old dream may suddenly feel important again. These experiences are not simply reflections of the past. They are reminders from a deeper part of you, pointing your attention towards something that still matters. The current astrological influences amplify that feeling. As emotional awareness grows stronger and your perspective widens, the quiet voice within becomes harder to ignore. What once felt like a distant whisper now asks more directly for your attention. Trust yourself enough to listen. There is no need to rush toward answers today. You are not being asked to solve everything at once, but you are being invited to notice what is rising within you. Something brought you to this message, and that reason reaches beyond coincidence. What is being offered here is not merely information, but a deeper understanding that can reshape the way you see yourself. Take a moment to sit with the questions emerging now. What truth am I finally ready to admit to myself? What desire have I continued to place aside? What story am I ready to stop carrying forward? The answers may reveal a completely different way of experiencing your life and a deeper foundation for the peace you have been seeking. Some of the most meaningful realizations arrive quietly. They appear through a familiar name, an unexpected memory, or a subtle feeling that returns after years of silence. That is the atmosphere surrounding this message now. What seeks your attention does not arrive with noise. It arrives with recognition. Libra, the star, judgment, and the Ace of Swords appear together as symbols of an important inner journey. They create a bridge between the person you have been and the person you are gradually becoming. Their message is gentle rather than forceful, yet it carries a truth that feels impossible to overlook once you hear it. The star speaks of healing where disappointment once lived. It represents a faith that returns after life has tested it. Not blind optimism, but something steadier and wiser. If you have quietly held on to a dream that seemed impossible or poorly timed, consider this a reminder that its story may not be over. What was placed beneath the surface may have been growing stronger roots all along. Now that dream begins to return with greater purpose. It feels less like wishful thinking and more like something asking to be expressed. Judgment enters as a call to awaken, encouraging you to look back on your past with compassion rather than criticism. The version of yourself you have outgrown was not a mistake. It was simply one chapter in a larger journey. This card often appears when you are ready to answer a deeper invitation from within. It is the kind of knowing that resonates in your heart before your mind can fully explain it. Once you recognize it, returning to old patterns becomes increasingly difficult. Something important within you is asking to be acknowledged. Then the Ace of Swords arrives, bringing clarity where uncertainty once lingered. A single insight, a sentence in a book, a conversation with a friend, an old memory viewed through a new lens, or perhaps a message from someone you never expected to hear from again, may suddenly reveal something significant. More than mental clarity alone, this card offers permission to finally be honest with yourself about a truth you have sensed for a long time. And this is about more than simply recognizing the truth when it appears. It is about giving that truth a voice, accepting it as your own, and allowing it to guide the direction of your life. When these energies come together, they offer something deeply meaningful. What returns is not only a dream, but the part of you that believed in that dream before life taught you to doubt it. You may remember the inner voice that once spoke with certainty and said, "This is who I am." Over time, expectations, responsibilities, and outside opinions may have encouraged you to shrink parts of yourself to fit what felt safer. Yet what is emerging now is not a second attempt at the same story. It feels more like a genuine beginning, supported by everything you have learned along the way. This time, the foundation beneath you is stronger. In everyday life, that may look like an old idea returning in a form that finally makes sense, a connection, finding its way back into your world, or a path that once felt intimidating suddenly appearing as the most natural direction forward. It may even involve an opportunity that slipped away before, now returning under different circumstances. The difference is that you are meeting it from a different place within yourself. You may not immediately know what to do when these things appear, and that is perfectly fine. There is no need to force an answer or rush toward a decision. The message here is to stay aware and pay attention. Notice which conversations seem meaningful, which memories return, and how your body responds when certain names, places, or possibilities reappear. Trust the feeling that something once closed is beginning to open again. The most important transformations often begin quietly, arriving as subtle impressions rather than dramatic announcements. Those moments are rarely random. They often carry messages from the version of yourself that already exists beyond fear and hesitation. So allow yourself to lean closer to what is calling for your attention, not because someone else is directing your path, but because you are finally becoming able to hear your own inner guidance more clearly. Some turning points arrive without fanfare. They begin as a small shift in awareness, a gentle realization that asks you to pause and truly listen. For you, Libra, as June 27 and 28 unfold, several meaningful shifts may begin revealing themselves. They are not isolated events, but connected reflections of a deeper process already taking place within you. At the center of this process is the return of something that once seemed distant, lost, or unfinished. Alignment often arises in ways that are quieter than expected. It could begin with a familiar name appearing again, a message arriving unexpectedly, or a reconnection that feels surprisingly well-timed. Perhaps it involves someone with whom there was distance, misunderstanding, or unfinished business. Their return may not be about revisiting old pain. Instead, it may bring understanding, support, trust, or a sense of peace you did not realize had been missing. Your first instinct may be to protect yourself or question what is unfolding. That response is understandable, especially when healing has required so much effort. Yet this period asks for thoughtful discernment rather than defense. Remain open to the possibility that what is returning has evolved, or that you have changed enough to experience it differently. Not far from that experience, another part of your story may begin to reappear. A dream you once set aside because it seemed unrealistic may start calling for your attention again. It could be a project, a goal, or even a version of yourself that became difficult to prioritize when life felt overwhelming. Now it returns carrying a greater sense of structure, purpose, and possibility. The timing has matured, and so have you. What once felt out of reach may now come with direction and support. You may find that someone stands beside you during this process, not because they need convincing, but because they recognize strengths in you that you may have forgotten. Rather than dimming your light, they encourage you to build with it. As this phase develops, your influence naturally begins to expand. You may notice that people pay closer attention when you speak, not because you are demanding attention, but because your energy feels more authentic. The need for outside validation begins to soften. In its place comes a stronger connection to what genuinely reflects who you are. There is a quiet power in living from clarity rather than control. When you choose peace over constant proving, circumstances often begin rearranging themselves in unexpected ways. What appears effortless from the outside is often the result of deep inner alignment. Sometimes an opportunity arrives not because you chased it, but because you became still enough to recognize it. These experiences are not asking you to be perfect. They are asking you to be present. They do not require endless effort or performance. Instead, they invite honesty about who you have become and what you are finally ready to reclaim for yourself. This is where meaningful change begins to take shape, not through dramatic events, but through choices that gradually rebuild your life from within. One conversation, one decision, and one act of courage at a time can create more change than you realize. If uncertainty appears, allow yourself space before searching for answers. You do not need immediate certainty to move forward. If something returns and your spirit recognizes it, trust that feeling enough to explore it. What appears now may carry the timing you once hoped for, arriving in a form you never expected. Let this be the season when you stop mistaking stillness for stagnation and begin recognizing that true power is found in being centered. And when you begin living from that centered place, life often responds in ways that feel surprisingly natural. Circumstances do not always change through pressure. They shift through alignment. Libra, these final days of June invite you into the kind of inner balance that quietly reshapes everything around you. The transformation begins less with a dramatic decision and more with a simple choice to pause, reflect, and listen before reacting. Not every life-changing moment announces itself with certainty. Sometimes it starts when you take a breath before speaking, when you choose awareness over urgency, or when you turn your attention inward instead of searching outside yourself for answers. As June 27th and 28th unfold, what matters most is not only what actions you take, but the energy you bring to them. The way you move through this period becomes just as important as the destination itself. Your emotional state acts like a compass now. The habits and rituals you practice each day can help shape the experience you create moving forward. This is where personal growth becomes something tangible rather than abstract. The invitation is not to transform your life overnight, but to become more intentional with your presence. Start with something simple each morning. Give yourself 10 quiet minutes that belong only to you. Close your eyes, place your hand over your heart, and breathe slowly. Imagine welcoming a future that is gradually revealing itself, while releasing versions of yourself that no longer fit who you are becoming. You might softly remind yourself, I am opening myself to clarity, growth, and alignment. Even if those words feel unfamiliar at first, allow them to settle gently within you. The goal is not to force an outcome. The goal is to create an inner environment where understanding and confidence can grow naturally. Movement supports this process as well. Choose activities that help you reconnect with yourself rather than push yourself harder. A mindful walk, gentle stretching, or a few moments of fresh morning air can help restore balance. When your body softens, emotions that have been stored beneath the surface often begin to release as well. The way you nourish yourself matters too. Fresh greens, herbs, and simple foods that leave you feeling energized can support a sense of renewal during this period. Adding healthy sources of omega-3s, such as walnuts or flax seeds, may help support both mental clarity and emotional well-being. These small choices become part of the larger process of aligning from the inside out. Color may also play a meaningful role during these final days of June. Soft pearl white reflects clarity and fresh perspective. Rose gold resonates with self-worth, connection, and the gentle Venusian energy associated with Libra. Sage green encourages healing, balance, and emotional renewal. Numbers can serve as reminders of the themes surrounding this season. The number 27 reflects the timing of this moment and the wisdom gathered through experience. The number 9 carries the energy of completion, helping you release what no longer belongs in the next chapter. If 99 begins appearing repeatedly, consider it a quiet reminder that one cycle may be closing so another can begin. People often search for answers through signs and symbols, yet many times the real shift comes through a choice rather than a sign. It appears when you decide to move through the week with greater awareness, trust, and compassion toward yourself. You do not need to see every step ahead to move forward with confidence. If your heart feels tired from carrying responsibilities, expectations, or worries that few people understand, allow this period to become a time of receiving again. Receive clarity where there was confusion. Receive peace where there was tension. Receive support where you once believed you had to carry everything alone. You do not need to solve every question immediately. Simply show up for yourself with the same care and patience you would offer someone you deeply love. Even now, things may be quietly aligning behind the scenes. Keep moving forward one step at a time, trusting that understanding often arrives gradually. The most meaningful changes rarely arrive with noise. They often begin as a subtle realization, a quiet insight, or a gentle shift in perspective that slowly reshapes everything that follows. Sometimes growth begins when we stop forcing answers and allow life to unfold at its own pace. Libra, few signs understand the balance between surrender and strength quite the way you do. Many powerful turning points begin with a simple act of trust. I want to share a story with you, not as advice, but as an example of what can happen when you become open to unexpected possibilities. It is the story of a Libra woman who had created a life filled with creativity, meaningful work, and relationships she cared for deeply. She had invested her heart into everything she built. Then life changed. Challenges accumulated gradually until they seemed to arrive all at once. Financial pressures grew, her business struggled, and a relationship she believed would remain part of her future faded into silence. The losses affected more than her circumstances. They left her questioning where she belonged and who she was becoming. For someone who found meaning through connection, beauty, and purpose, that experience felt deeply personal. She spent months trying to repair everything through effort alone. She worked harder, searched for solutions, and pushed herself beyond her limits. Yet the harder she fought, the more exhausted and disconnected she became. Then, during the final days of June, something unexpected arrived. One morning, she opened her email and found a message from someone she never imagined would contact her again. It came from a former competitor, a person she once viewed as an obstacle rather than an ally. The message was brief and straightforward. It simply asked, "Would you be open to a collaboration?" The invitation caught her off guard. Every instinct told her to hesitate, analyze every possibility, and protect herself from disappointment. Yet something within her had changed, not because she suddenly had all the answers, but because she no longer had the energy to keep every door closed. She said yes. That single decision created a chain of events she never could have predicted. Within 6 months, they had built something new together, a venture that honored her talents without exhausting her spirit. Stability returned, but what mattered even more was the return of something she thought she had lost: her confidence, her clarity, and her sense of joy. As her life settled into a healthier rhythm, other pieces began finding their place as well. Family connections grew stronger, old emotional wounds softened, and she made peace with chapters of her story she had carried for years. Even love returned, not as an idealized fantasy, but as a steady and genuine presence that allowed her to be fully herself. Later, she shared a reflection with the people around her. She wrote, "The path only became visible when I stopped trying to control every step. I had spent so much energy fighting for answers that I couldn't see what was already trying to reach me. The moment I chose trust, life guided me exactly where I needed to be." Stories like hers happen more often than we realize. They rarely make headlines because they tend to unfold through ordinary moments. A message arrives, an unexpected conversation begins, or a quiet opportunity appears where none seemed possible. Whether you call it intuition, faith, a higher power, or something deeply personal, the pattern remains remarkably similar. Often something greater moves through our lives when we stop gripping so tightly to how everything should happen. So if you find yourself in a season of uncertainty, Libra, resist the urge to rebuild everything through logic alone. Leave room for possibilities you did not plan for. Leave room for experiences that may not match your expectations but somehow feel deeply healing. Sometimes all it takes is one unexpected message, one meaningful interruption, or one simple yes. When that moment arrives, allow your heart enough openness to receive it. Many people wait for change to appear in dramatic ways, bright and impossible to miss. Yet some of the most important transformations arrive quietly. What if the shift you have been waiting for is already unfolding within you? Libra, as these final days of June continue to unfold, Take a moment to turn your attention inward rather than searching endlessly for signs outside yourself. There is a voice within you that has been speaking for a long time through your hopes, your intuition, and the dreams you set aside before they had the chance to grow. That voice deserves your attention now. You are more than someone searching for balance. You are someone learning how to bridge where you have been with where you are going. Every thoughtful decision, every intentional pause, and every moment you choose inner truth over outside pressure becomes part of that process. This is how meaningful change takes shape. As June 27th and 28th unfold, each small choice carries significance. Every time you respond with clarity instead of fear, every time you trust your own timing, you plant a seed for what comes next. Growth does not demand perfection. It asks only for your willingness to remain present and open. Can you begin your mornings with a few moments of stillness? Can you allow yourself to speak about your dreams again, even if doing so feels uncomfortable? Can you remain open to the people returning to your life, not because they never made mistakes, but because both you and they may have changed? This season invites you to move forward with grace rather than urgency. It encourages faith rooted in self-trust rather than fear of missing out. Let the story of this period be measured not by how quickly results appear, but by how deeply you reconnect with what feels true for you. You do not need to chase transformation. Much of what you seek begins the moment you stop waiting for permission to become yourself. It appears when courage meets alignment, when self-compassion meets clarity, and when you finally answer the call that has been quietly waiting within you. So let me ask you, Libra, what will you do with this moment? What truth are you finally ready to live? What part of yourself are you prepared to reclaim? And most importantly, are you willing to release the version of yourself that no longer reflects who you are becoming? If this message resonates with you, comment below. I open my heart to clarity and alignment. I am ready to step into my truest self. Let those words become more than a statement. Let them become a promise you make to yourself as this new chapter begins to take shape. And if this video awakened a memory, a feeling, or a realization you needed to hear, consider sharing it. Someone else may be waiting for the very reminder that reached you today. You never know when a small act of sharing becomes the exact encouragement another person needs. Before we go further, I want you to remember something important. You are not walking this path by yourself. This space exists so people can explore healing, insight, and personal growth together. Thank you for being here, for trusting this message, and for allowing yourself to remain open to what is unfolding. If you enjoyed this video, take a moment to subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts below. These simple actions help this community continue growing, while also honoring your own journey. Libra, this moment is not an ending. It is the quiet turning of a page, and the story ahead will be written from the most authentic place you have to offer, your truth.